So welcome everybody. Welcome to Q3 of the Tableau user group for the Milwaukee Tableau user group. With all we had started the Wisconsin virtual one, and then all of a sudden everything went virtual, and now with the Madison being virtual, it feels like there's opportunity to like attend the Tableau user group every day. It's wonderful. It is. Aside from the kids and all the extra work and then the learning and all of that, but at least we got to take the fun stuff where we can. So everybody, welcome. Our mission statement, as always, networking, meeting like-minded people. Getting to see some updates and demonstrations. We've got some tips and tricks. Tableau 20.3 landed 2 days ago, so we'll go over a few of the highlights from there. So things like that. We're going to get some tips and trick use cases. We'll also get some trivia, so there's definitely going to be some opportunity for learning perspectives. There's going to be a happy hour. Stick around for that afterwards. You'll get a little bit there. And always, a little bit of free consulting, a little bit of free help, and to have fun. So that's what we're all about here, is to enjoy. We enjoy what we're doing, and we continue to do it through formats like this. So today, as I mentioned, we've got some tips and tricks coming out from our community. So we have Jim Donahue and John Heisler are going to help us out with a few different topics and some in Tableau demonstrations, and just kind of take a lot of input from the audience. So if you have questions, you want to see something, you want to challenge them, I would highly recommend that you try to challenge them and see them sweat on screen a little bit. Then we'll have a bit of a break in there. We have Molly, let's see, Molly, is it
Gallmeyer.
Gallmeyer, yes. Molly Gallmeyer from Women in Technology, so the president of the South Central region. So she's going to be joining us, give us a little bit of an update there. We'll have some updates on local events. Then, of course, we've got Tableau trivia. Everybody's here. So the little bit of difference with normally at the end of the meeting, we kind of have the prizes and the giveaways and all of that. Well, the prizes are going to be for the trivia. So give it your all, bring it your all. That is your opportunity to get some free swag out of us today. We'll wrap it up, and then we will have a happy hour. So the happy hour is going to be Zoom, a separate Zoom meeting. So not this Zoom meeting, different one. The link is included here, and so you'll have to switch from that. Tableau wasn't able to loan us the Zoom for too long in the day. They had another meeting they had to switch it to. So we'll jump over that one, and anyone who wants to stick around to have their favorite beverage of choice, feel free to do so. So let's meet our leaders. So I think, a lot of you can see us. That's a nice platform here. But of course, we have Brandy Beals. She's been around, her and Patrick, from way back, started this thing off. Olga, Crystal, and myself kind of came about to, some of the new kids on the block a little bit to jump in. But yeah, so, we're still here. We're still with you. We've got the various platforms out there, questions, participate in the group, Slack, LinkedIn, Twitter. I don't know if we still are doing the Twitter or not, but yeah, so feel free to connect with us, to reach out to us on any of those platforms. Questions, we'll point you to a direction if we can't help. So, all right, now let's get to know you guys a little bit. So we're gonna do the poll like we usually do it. So let me switch screens and get into that. So here, so you can hold your camera up to the screen, it works, or you can type in that in your browser, in your phone, however you want to do it. I'll give everybody a few minutes to get in there.
I also just shared the link in the chat window, so you can also open up that chat window and click the link there as well.
Nice, thank you, Brandy. She's going to handle all the link drops for us today, so if you're check that out, that'll be a good spot for you. So. Yeah.
Thanks. Wait, are you drawing?
I'm not on mute.
What?
Happens to us all, John. All right, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and kick it off. So I'm gonna click the play button. we'll go through the polls. Patrick, if you want to go ahead and take it away. So you're the architect of these, so
Yeah,
go ahead and jump in.
so first thing we want to do is find out how many of you have been here before and how many of you this is your first Tableau user group meeting. Wow, so we have a lot of people returning, which is great. A few newbies, so welcome to you if it's your first time attending. Hope to see you at future meetings, and hope that you enjoyed today's agenda. If you have any questions about Tableau or what we do in these meetings, always feel free to reach out to one of the leaders, and be happy to talk to you more about what we do. So let's find out a little bit about your experience and expertise at Tableau. How would you rate yourself? Beginner, just starting out, or next level intermediate? Are you advanced, or would you consider yourself Jedi?
Is the designation of Jedi bestowed upon one? Or can you self-identify?
Well, you can
Zen Master.
self-identify. Zen Master is a whole nother level, right? And so if you have been to the Tableau conference, this is how they sort of categorize their sessions. So like what degree of difficulty you're going into in terms of the content that they're going to be presenting. I have to say, like the Jedi ones that I've gone into, I make me realize quickly that I'm not ready to self-identify as a Jedi.
Slowly back out.
All right, so a lot of intermediates, good. Hopefully we will help you advance your skills and technique. So how often do you use Tableau? Maybe you just started using it or have not yet started. Some of us use it daily, looks like quite a few of us. Is it something you don't quite use daily, but maybe weekly, or are you using it less frequently than that? I know that if it's not daily for me, I get really hangry for Tableau. Okay, so quite a few dailies, and then looks like most of us are either using it daily or weekly. Cool.
All right.
So how do you develop your Tableau skills? And you can pick more than one answer on this one. Tableau.com, so if you've been out there, they have various online courses you can take or on-demand courses, and there's a lot of other like articles and white papers. There are videos out on YouTube. There's also third-party formal classroom training that you could take, or just good old-fashioned trial and error. Just get out there and start using it and figure it out.
I just get publicly shamed when I'm wrong by Brandy, and then I don't make the same mistake twice.
You don't advocate that form of reinforcement, Brandy.
Single trial learning, it's very effective.
So a lot of trial and error out there. That's cool. Good to see people using Tableau.com as well. Be interested in knowing more about what the other sources of Tableau training are. Maybe if you've picked the other, you can maybe throw that down in the chat. Like, what are some of those other resources. Like replicate
Yeah, I think-
vises from Tableau Public.
Mhm. Just had one pop in here, so I was seeing if someone else wanted to come in, but okay. All right.
Okay, so what is your primary use for Tableau? Maybe you build dashboards. Do you use Tableau for analysis? Do you use Tableau, or are you maybe not a direct user of Tableau, but you are maybe in an IT role and you support Tableau users, or none of the above? And of course, you could be all three of these, or I think pick whatever your most common or primary use for Tableau is.
Be curious if I support Tableau users, if that's done with dashboards or not, or so it's like building dashboards for support. That's a lot. We've been doing quite a bit of that more around performance and like resource capacity, but yeah. It's almost like Inception, like building dashboards to support the people who use to build dashboards to support the people who use to build dashboards.
There's probably a lot of different ways you could interpret that one.
Mm-hmm. All right, ready for the next one, Patrick?
Yeah. So we are in our Q3 meeting right now and looking ahead to our Q4 meeting. What would you be most interested in? I've been seeing a lot of cool things out in Tableau Public around people that have built their resumes in Tableau. So how to build a resume in Tableau. Would you like to see maybe a hiring manager panel? Hear more about what managers are looking for in Tableau users. Certification study group, or a skills endorsement drive on LinkedIn.
Looks like we're gonna have to do everything.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe there's more than one here. So definitely a lot of interest in a hiring manager panel. The endorsement drive on LinkedIn too.
Well, this will keep us busy.
I think we should try and do all of these.
I think they are all great ideas.
Just write yourself an agenda for our Q4 meeting.
Yeah.
It's just self-affirmation on it, right?
It's like an 8-hour.
Giving you what you wanted. You voted for it.
It's going to be like a Milwaukee Tableau conference, almost like a single day event. Just like, I'm kidding. I wouldn't take up that much of your time, but
Yes, you would.
I would do it.
Okay. The next one, Josh. All right. So with COVID, what have you missed most about the summer in Milwaukee that maybe has been canceled? Of course, the Brewers have started playing games, but no fans are allowed. So do you miss attending Brewers games at Miller Park? Did you miss Summerfest, Bastille Days, or Cream Puffs at the Wisconsin State Fair?
The summer traffic, the commute. It's nice because in the summertime when all the kids get out of school and it gets horrible. Nobody missed that.
Yeah, but I went downtown during the afternoon rush hour yesterday, and I was surprised at how much traffic there was.
Oh, really?
Of course, once I got downtown, there were no cars around, but
Depends on where you go.
Passing through.
So yeah, down by our office in the 3rd ward, it's almost like nothing's different. It's bizarre. But then like once you get up into the business district, it's like a ghost town.
So a lot of people missing the Brewers games, Summerfest, Wisconsin State Fair, but not many missed Bastille Days.
Steel Days is good. It's a good one. Get some heavy hitters out here though. Have they announced the name change for Miller Park? Is that still, was that ever put on pause because of things? I thought there was going to be some American Family.
Does that start next year?
Yeah,
Interjection.
I don't think it was starting until 2022 or 2023 or something like that.
Okay.
Or I don't know, but I don't think that's on hold.
Did they announce the name change though? I don't know if I ever heard the final.
Oh, like if it's AmFam Park or American Family
Right.
Ballpark or
I suppose I could
Google it.
Google it, but Brandy's gonna do it for me. She's gonna do that, and she'll send me the "Let me Google that for you" link.
Right.
I'll click to
Be
that.
renamed American Family Field in 2021.
All right,
Okay.
so apologize to those of you that are not from Milwaukee on that last question, but here's one that hopefully you can all answer. What is your favorite kitchen utensil? So we were really bored a couple weeks ago on our family vacation. We were sitting on a boat on a lake somewhere and we're like, what kitchen utensil could you not live without?
Ooh. That is a tough one.
I mean, if you have a chef's knife, you probably can open a can, you can slice pizza, and you probably can use it as a spatula.
Did you see
so,
Jake's message in the chat window?
no. Tongs.
I thought it was clever.
Tonks.
Tongs.
Everybody has to click
Yeah, you got to make sure they work.
for sure.
Click twice.
Yep.
All right, chef's knives and spatula winning out.
I don't know, when you use the whisk though, it's like really handy. Like when you need it, it is there and saves you a ton of like, you know, hand mixer maybe, but you can't get that specific.
Can
but
openers too.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them have the pull top on them now though. Like, I don't know. Got the fancy cans maybe, but
Yeah, you make the money, Josh, okay? Some of us still have regular cans.
If you're opening a can, are you really cooking though?
right?
Oh, well, okay, but there's nowhere in this question that says that you have to be cooking.
I mean, if
It's
that's
true.
if that's
You
really
could have
the,
like maybe just like a favorite can opener. Like, did anybody have a mom who had like the electric can opener like attached to the underside of the cabinet? You know, I mean, that right there is some money can openers.
Yep,
You fancy-
Colleen
you fancy-
like finally chimes in with a yes, all caps. I still have one.
you fancy shame Josh, and then you're like, oh, who had the electric
And then
can
you
opener?
jump right up to electric can opener. I'm like, well, I got the pull tops. And
Yeah.
you come
Oh,
from
that's
such
great.
privileged background, Brandy. We had the manual one that was all metal. There was no grip on it, but that thing worked forever. So I think it was like my great grandma's or something like that. I
Well,
swear.
in my house, we had to open them with hatchets.
Accidentally lose a thumb. Anyway, okay.
Part about
Take
growing up.
Your turn.
I think we're at the end of these, right?
Yep, I think that was the last one. Thanks everybody for
All right.
participating. On with the show.
On with the show. All right, let's jump back into here. Let me get back into presentation mode. There we go. Oh, you don't see my notifications coming through. We're back at the top. All right. So, introductions. We went through that. Let's jump right into tips and tricks. So I think we're gonna start with Jim, and then we'll go to John.
Yep. So,
Go ahead, Olga.
yep. We have a great time learning about you and learning what you'd like to see in the Tableau user groups coming up, as we just did. And the last time that we asked what you'd like to see, tips and tricks were among those to be chosen, and that was overwhelmingly the leader in what you'd like to see in upcoming meetings. So we are offering you some tips and tricks by 2 longtime members and friends of the TUG. Jim and John have both been in the corporate world, in the corporate side, using Tableau. I think that their love for the product and for all things data always had them learning new things. They have both ventured out to the consulting role. And what I love about working with consultants is that they aren't stuck. Sometimes I know that everything we do, most of the things we do is very exciting with Tableau. Sometimes it kind of gets dry and boring, but in working with consultants, they have worked with so many different companies and all different roles and uses, really pushing the limits on Tableau, that it's always nice to hear from them. So they usually are helping us by hosting happy hours, and now they're going to give us some tips and tricks. So I will pass it over to Jim. Jim is going to do some tips and tricks for beginners. And anybody that has gone to the Tableau conference, it's super cool to be a Zen master and to do speed tipping. I think that the record now is 100 tips and tricks in a session, but I think Jim will go a little slower than that. So go ahead, Jim.
Well, so we're actually gonna play a wild card on you. We're gonna have John go. John's got the server tips. I'll do the desktop tips afterwards.
Yeah, so we did a clandestine text message right before.
A private chat. Okay.
Yeah.
Well done.
All right, I see what you're doing here. I don't like that. No more. Nope. You're cut off. You're done. None of that. No, okay.
All right.
All right, you guys should be able to just take over. So.
Perfect. So I will share my screen. I'll give you a brief introduction to continuous technologies. I'll also share this one pager with everyone, so I won't bore you with everything that we've got going on here. But really what I want to kind of make clear is kind of what we do. So we're Tableau Premier Partners, we're Alteryx Premier Partners. We also partner with Snowflake and Matillion and ThoughtSpot as well. So what we really try to do is bring the entire sort of modern data analytics platform expertise to our clients. We're right here in Milwaukee, although we do a lot of stuff nationally. And I mentioned a lot of our platforms, but really the value proposition that we have that we think we can do better than anybody else is the entire data value supply chain, right? So this ability to access data, master that data into data warehouses, into data pipelines, and really curate the data, as well as all of the consumption expertise all the way up to machine learning. We have expertise across all of that, and our expertise way up the value chain informs a lot of what we're going to do in the machine learning piece, in the business intelligence piece, and a lot of our other services. So that's really our key differentiator, and that's all I'll say about Continuous. My role at Continuous, I came on when I think there was 7 of us. We've since grown to 30 plus consultants, and what I love about Continuous is we don't try to play the bike shop mechanic. So if you bring your bike to a bike shop and they say, well, what millimeter spacer you got? And you're like, I don't know, dude, I just ride the bike. We're never going to be pretentious about some of the more complex things that have to happen in order for you to get really straightforward answers. And that's what I like bringing to our clients. So my role, I'm now kind of the VP of technology, and so I own a lot of these platforms. From a technological perspective, I can make sure that people are getting the most out of them. And one of the things that I really like about this role is I get to share things from the IT or a little bit less sexy side that actually are very, very fun. Right? So the server piece is what I'm going to focus on today. It's not something that I think a lot of people are kind of jumping out of their seats about, but hopefully what I'm going to show you today can kind of really get your creative juices flowing, especially if you are one of those people that's managing the server. So I'm going to start a little bit with the development side. So what does it mean to use as a desktop user? How can I use the server really well? So the first thing that I want to talk about is pausing and resuming your when you're using data on the server. So this is true all the time, even if you're working on a data set that's local to your machine. If you're working with a huge data set and you're developing, it doesn't make sense to do the whole round trip, because every single time you touch something in Tableau, Tableau does a round trip, right? So it takes your information, translates it to VizQL, puts it to the server, brings back the table information. That's a lot of work. And if you're just messing around and tweaking things, you don't need to do all of that. So just pause it, and that's up in the top right or left-hand corner of your canvas. So it's just going to be right here, pause and start this. So if I was doing, yeah.
I'm not seeing your screen.
Oh, did you see it at all, or did you just see it from
No,
here?
I never saw your screen. That's just me. How about everybody else?
Yeah,
I don't see it.
same. I didn't know if
I don't see it either.
All right.
It's starting now, I see.
There we go.
now we
Oh.
see Tableau.
See
Yep.
it.
Cool.
All right.
Sorry.
This is all I was
You did-
showing. So no, that's fine. Like I hadn't really shown anything of substance yet. Okay, so here's Tableau. Here's what I was trying to show you. Here's our pause and resume, right? So the ability just to pause those refreshes of data and then resume them once you're ready. So that's really, really helpful. Again, especially when you're in development phase, because you don't want to go through that whole round trip.
Yeah.
And that round trip is exacerbated when you're going through lots and lots of data from the server. So that's the first thing. Saving custom views. If you want your engineer or the groups to see, if you've built a visualization, you want a custom view for the portfolio manager at a financial services institution, save that view. And you can just share that view specifically with them. I'm going to also, like I said, maybe I didn't say this, I'm going to send out a link or a list of links to all of these so that we don't have to, or you don't have to memorize or write or rapidly write all of these down. The other piece is when you're building data sets, come up with a naming convention. Please come up with a naming convention. Any naming convention, even if it's not perfect, is better than no naming convention, so that it can kind of help folks navigate some of your data when they're on the server. The other kind of thing around data sources is going to be certifying those data sources. So if you're not familiar with certified data sources, it's just a way for the administrators or the champions or the people who own the data governance maybe, to say this data set for portfolio analytics is the data set for portfolio analytics. And it gives you a way to kind of say, oh, you didn't get this answer from there, we're not even going to talk about it. Certify your data sources. If you've put up a visualization and people aren't seeing the data refreshing, it can be really, really kind of frustrating, but one really, really easy hack in Tableau Server is just this little piece right here. Let me zoom in a little bit here. Throw this question mark refresh equals Y, and it's going to refresh the data, right? So that it's always going to constantly refresh the data piece. So this is really, really helpful. If you're an administrator of the server, and actually I'll pause on that one. One other piece that's very similar to this, if you've ever tried to embed visualizations, it can be really kind of, well, that's very helpful, but if maybe you're working with an app that can't embed them, you can always throw a .png at the end of a hyperlink, and it's going to show that as a PNG. That can be super helpful and let you cut through a whole bunch of rigmarole around embedding data sources. So all it's going to do is produce a PNG. And this is also true, you could do a PDF. So this coupled with perhaps maybe filtering of data with the URL. So you can actually pass filters. If I have a visualization that has a number of filters like the region, I can actually interact with this visualization via the URL, right? So that can be really, really helpful. If you see right here, here is that hyperlink. And at the very end, they just have this ampersand, which is the indication that I'm passing things to the visual, and they have region equals central. So that's a really, really nice way to kind of get around that. That's hugely helpful. The last thing, or the other thing that I'll say about content and curating that content, be it making sure that data sources are named correctly, or that maybe you have a policy about embedded data sources. If you have instructions for your end users, one of the ways that I've seen, and I actually stole this from my good friend Brandy Beals, is to really actually incentivize your user base. So come up with competitions, fun swag from your organization to say, hey, you know, we have this for the next 90 days. We have built this evaluation of all of your data sources, and 3 out of the 45 are certified. If, like, at the end of this, you know, whichever team gets the most certified data sources gets, I don't know, you know, a water bottle. It can be a really fun way to get people to engage with your standards. If you are a server administrator, please use groups to govern access to your server. Please, please, please use groups versus giving individuals access. There are reasons that they're definitely the exception to the rule to give individual access, but it's going to make your life so much easier. Future you is going to love past you if you start to use groups. Similarly, future you is going to be enamored with past you if you lock your permissions to the project. This is just really around being thoughtful about your organization. Make your projects represent some sort of organizational structure, or at the very least, be thoughtful. Right? So have them be, don't do this piecemeal where it's like, oh yeah, well, we just had this collaboration. We randomly created this project and there's 2 vises in it. There are reasons to do things like that, but be thoughtful. Typically we'll see projects aligned to the organizational structure, and that can be really helpful, and then set the permissions at that level. 2 last pieces, and this is kind of around the administration of server and automation everywhere, right? We've seen a bloat pre-COVID in a lot of staffing for analytics groups that I think honestly is not hugely necessary. Managing servers should not be a huge job. You should be able to automate a lot of pieces of that. One of the ways that you can do that is automation through the API. Everything that you can do as an administrator, add users, remove users, create projects, refresh a data set, publish a workbook, all of that can be done programmatically. So if you have tasks like adding users or something like that, adding users, and then I have to add them to this and do this, blah, 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 and I have this orchestration, automate that wherever you can with the Tableau Server API. There's a Python package called the Tableau Server Client that pre-packages a lot of this. It should make your lives a lot easier. The last piece is the Postgres database. Use the Postgres database that belies or underpins the Tableau server. What this is going to have is all of the usage statistics, all of the actual content and assets that are on your server are going to be there. What you can do is you can actually dive into that and start to understand how people are violating perhaps some of your strategic goals, which is, you know, to maximize the ratio of data sets to workbooks so that multiple workbooks are pointed to a single data set so that you can manage. That Postgres database is going to allow you to do that. So those are the last 2 pieces. I hope, like I said, I'll share a linked list to all of these, but the Tableau server piece is really can take your game to the next level. So hope that was helpful.
Yeah. Thank you, John. I do see that there was a question in the chat room. How do you pause if you use Tableau Explorer? Wondering if you.
Oh, when you're on server, I believe it's the same process. I don't have my server spun up right now, but when you're in the browser, I believe it's actually just shows up here. I could be wrong though.
Okay. And does anyone else have questions about server? Anything that John has talked about spark any questions?
Well, I had a question for John. You mentioned a couple times naming conventions for data sources. Do you have any specific thoughts on a schema for that, or are there any resources that you would recommend that we check out?
I can put a couple together. The one thing that I would say I would avoid as much as possible is tying the nature of the object. So like if it's a SQL database or something like that, tying like similar to the way that you shouldn't name a column integer underscore price. There's some bright lines around what not to do, but outside of that, the biggest piece, and Brandy will love that I'm going to say this, is consistency. So as long as it's consistent and you're not violating some of those cardinal sins, it's really kind of open reign.
Thanks.
Okay. Let's say we had another question, but it looks like Jake took care of that. Can you access the default Tableau Audit workbook as well as the data?
Oh yeah, man. That's like way far deep into the server, but that's another thing that I can share. And what's nice about that is, and I've told this to Tableau, I don't like those vizzes. They're not great, but what's beautiful is they have all the Postgres integration actually built for you. The Postgres database can be somewhat complicated, so I can send where to get that information as well.
Okay, great. Oh, the pause button. Sorry, Jake. Alrighty. Anyone else have questions, or does anyone else want to contribute on any tips and tricks that they think will be helpful for server? And on that note, we would love to have our members take part. If you all are thinking that you've come across some cool projects, or you've learned maybe a very out of the box where people say, well, Tableau is not meant to do this, some kind of application that you want to share with us, please let us know. We'd love to have our members go ahead and do some tips and tricks as well. Okay.
So I guess one quick thing, I guess. So John, you went over the embedding stuff. I thought that was actually pretty cool. I was wondering, is anybody else messing around with a lot of embedding? Are there a lot of other embed use cases? I kind of was thrown into the deep end in my first Tableau project with embedding, and there's a lot that goes on there, but I'm curious to see if anyone else is really using it. Just kind of shout out in the chat if you are just interested. So.
And yeah, another place that we see folks embedding a lot is in Salesforce. Right. So that's probably the primary use case that we'll see use of the embed functionality. But some of the older web applications and protocols don't lend themselves very well to HTML embedding.
One of the places that we've seen people, we have Confluence, which is an Atlassian product, and you can embed Tableau dashboards there. And there's a company called Interworks that does a lot with Tableau, and they do a lot of like Tableau portals. They help build portals for Tableau, but I feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm making it harder than it needs to be, but I feel like embedding Tableau dashboards right into like a wiki is kind of like a simplified version of that, or embedding it into Confluence. So I found that to be really easy and slick. So.
Yeah, and don't let like the phrase embedding scare you. It's simply copying and pasting.
Yeah,
it's so simple.
So simple.
I think the portal is a little bit more robust because they have like custom export buttons that then like send like JavaScript or something to the dashboard to actually like, I don't know, do all of those things. So it's just, if you want like a truly customized experience, the portals are really nice, but embedding something into SharePoint or into Confluence or really anything, like Tableau provides the code to you and you literally just copy the code and you paste it into like an HTML block.
Yeah, the hard part is the wrapper and the navigation and maybe even the authentication pieces, right? That's where the Interworks portal work comes in handy.
For sure, but like, you know, when you embed a Tableau dashboard into like a Confluence page, you know, the user is just presented with like, you know, in our case, we use single sign-on, Okta. So we have our server set up with SAML authentication, which is all set up on the back end. And so whenever a business user goes to a Confluence page that has an embedded Tableau dashboard, that authentication, it's the same as if you were hitting Tableau server live.
Oh, they don't have it.
That's nice.
Oh, yeah, they do.
That one, yeah.
It's literally just right here.
Wow.
And you copy this and paste it. The beauty of this is actually anything that's on Tableau Public, like if you have like a personal website and your own public Tableau Public, you could just take this and drop it into your Weebly site or something like that. But it's the same thing, same experience on server.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you, John. Thank you, John. And so that was a good help for a lot of the returning members, I think, that are working on server. Remember, Brandy Beals, your own Brandy Beals, is also very knowledgeable about the server. She's done some speaking at Tableau conferences and has created I guess a talk about using the interworks to manage, as John said, kind of streamline and manage that server. So that's not overwhelming for you. So thank you. We'll move right along to Jim, and Jim's going to help out, I think, some of the first timers and newbies on some tips and tricks.
Yeah, so for you 6 people, hopefully you'll learn a lot of stuff. And for you experienced people, hopefully you'll pick up a trick or 2.
Yeah.
And actually one good segue from John. So what's interesting about that embed is if you're stuck using Microsoft Teams, you can actually embed a Tableau workbook into a Microsoft Teams and really piss off your Microsoft people. So, all right. Now let's get into slides. So for those of you last year who saw the Bizception, this is the sequel, Biz Fast, Biz Furious. So going along the movie themes here, speed tipping for beginners. So kind of same thing with John, just going to give a high level overview of what we do. And after being said, hey, are you the Tableau guy for many years? And trying to explain analytics, we've tried to narrow it down to just say rising tides helps companies make better decisions with their data. So Tosh and Ann, shout out to our team members. I'm the person here in the Bulletproof Vest. So what we really focus on is the strategy and implementation of the best-in-class self-service tools. And what's unique about us is we provide independent advice. We are not a reseller of any of these products. We recommend them because we believe in them and we've seen them have dramatically good benefits for our clients. So again, kind of similar to what John was saying, we go across the board. We like to use Snowflake, Fivetran, Alteryx, Tableau, Data Robot, and that is our stack that we currently recommend. All right, so why speed tips? Right now, there's a lot of speed tipping going on in the community. A lot of people love the speed tips. But I think the first part is it helps you really get up to speed quickly on building a dashboard. All these, hopefully you should be able to apply them for any project. Easy to impress your boss. And like Fast and Furious, it makes you speed. So let's go into Tableau. I'm going to reshare for a second. All right, so let me know when everybody can see Superstore.
Yep.
Cool. So this is the latest version, and already one of my tips has been solved for. So let's start with the first one. So the first one is start with the measure. So especially for beginners and even people that are advanced, a lot of times you'll see kind of this going on. You'll see, all right, I'm going to take order date, I'm going to take product, I'm going to take sales in here. Maybe I'm going to click on this. Uh-oh, what am I going to do? I'm going to click on show me, try and get back to something that, makes sense. So there's actually a much better way to do that. So the thing that I would always recommend to people is start with the measure that you want first. So let's say sales. So basically if you double click on that sales, you'll always see that blue bar. So this is almost always all my vision will start with this blue bar. And then from there you can drag and it makes a little bit more sense. So that's a quick way to get started versus trying to drag out all your dimensions to your columns. Just double click on whatever measure you want to start analyzing and start flipping it around and sorting it. So that's the first big tip for beginners. The second big tip that goes along with that, so let's say sales. I want to see sales over time. I see this a lot too, where people will drag this, they'll left click and drag it, and they'll get this, and then they'll get this, and then they'll get this. They're like, wait, I don't want this, I want something like this. And then, oh, okay, well actually maybe I just want this to be continuous. It just gets confusing. So my favorite trick that I learned, instead of left clicking and dragging like you used to with everything else, with Tableau, right click and drag. So when you drop your field, and this works for both being able to do things with dimensions and measures, but almost always with dates. If I just want to go and check the month, the order date, it's done for you. So always right click and drag to drop, especially any of your time, your dates. So that's tip number 2. Let's leave this on here. Let's build the dashboard. So the next thing that you'll see is grouping. So let's go into grouping real quick. Let's do ship mode. Let's flip this. So, you know, you can create a group in here by going in and creating a group. And just say, right, and then just if, let's say I want to include the other, this will throw everything else in the other. So a lot of people will build groups that way. But actually a really quick way to do that is just take, use click and drag to select or control click. So let's just say I want first and second class. And you'll see this will pop up and right away you can group those members. So all that changes in the viz is one become, you know, the what's in the group becomes blue and everything else becomes gray. But as you see, it actually created that group already for me over in the data bar. So I can just drag it over and now I've got this ship by. So it's handy, especially, you can also do this with apps. And so, that's for grouping. So now let's go to text tables. All right, so this is a pretty common, as much as we should be using Tableau to its fullest extent, you have a lot of people who build a ton of text tables. And while, again, this is something that I would consider as practice, this has actually changed in the latest version. But you'll get to a point, I believe in the older versions, where it's after 6 or so columns where it'll start to concatenate something's over here. So things that a lot of people don't know is you can go to this analysis tab, go to table layout, and click on advanced. So you can see right now, it actually, the new version, it sets you to 50. But the default in the older versions, I believe, is 6 or 8. So that's one handy tip, especially if you're trying to show a lot of data. Again, don't try to use Tableau as an Excel workbook, but you know, it's handy in certain circumstances. So let's throw this now into a dashboard. So, you know, another thing that I see a lot of, let's say you've got 3 sheets in the dashboard, and I want to change the tooltip in here. Well, okay, people then will open up that sheet, they'll go on the tooltip, and they'll, you know, do whatever it is they want to do with this tooltip. So one really handy thing is instead of going into every sheet that you'd like to change the tooltip on, what you can actually do is, a lot of people don't use these, use the menu up here, but if you click on this, let's say sheet 1, I go to data, I go to worksheet, and I click on tooltip, I can edit that tooltip directly from here. So it saves you that extra step from going in and figuring out, you know, which tooltip to use. If you have dual axis or multiple marks, it doesn't work out as well. But in a case where you just want to clean everything up and be quick about, you know, just getting everything and standardizing things, this is a really handy tip. The other thing, the next tip. So with dashboards, I use color quite a bit to organize. So typically what I'll do is every sheet that's associated with that dashboard, I'll color the same. And then sometimes you get to certain people who have, let's say 200 or so sheets, or they get a little bit crazy with it. One of the nice things you can do with the dashboard is you right click on the dashboard and click on hide all sheets. So it's one way to help people not publish all those sheets out, because by default, these won't show up when you publish. And instead of having to click on just publish the dashboards, it kind of does this for you. But also it really helps keep everything clean. And then those sheets also don't show up on the dashboard sidebar. So same thing, once, if you've got this and you do want to do some edits, you can either go into the sheet or you can unhide these sheets and take a look at that. So this is really a clean tip. The next one is around using the big ARS numbers to show KPIs. So we'll unhide this one. So if I just want to know my sum of profit, right? This doesn't really doesn't look good, right? What you can do is go in here and let's say, so now when you go to your dashboard, okay, well this still doesn't look quite right. So the other thing I notice a lot is, especially people who are new, don't really utilize this fitting portion here. So if you go entire view, this works a little bit better. But now when you actually go in and set alignment to center, it doesn't show up here, but in your dashboard, this is now centered. So what's nice is, again, this can inherit all your filters. A lot of clients like the big ass numbers. Plus, if you are interested in doing the Vision Tooltip, I think the Vision Tooltip and the big ass number, they work really well together. So those are my 10 quick tips. Any questions on the tips so far? Or anybody have any other big hitting Tableau tips, desktop tips?
I'm a huge fan of the right clicking and dragging the dates. You can also do that with like other measures and even other fields. Like if you want to say count the number of products or something, you don't, it's just easy to do it that way as well.
Yeah, I mean, right clicking and dragging is pretty clutch.
It's worth the time to learn how to do it. You know what I mean? To make that a natural feeling.
Yeah, I've been involved with Tableau a long time and I did not know that. So that could have saved me.
There you go.
It's really nice. I think everything that you've shown is something that you're gonna do repeatedly. So being able to show these tips that can speed it up and maybe cut down on the monotony of building a dashboard and getting into the fun stuff is very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and especially for if you're doing the quick analysis, just the ability to start just double clicking. I think a lot of people start dragging out first, and the reason why is because they usually click a dimension first.
Yeah, again, get to the good stuff.
Right, and then this adds to the text on the marks card, and really probably what people want is this, and it's just confusing versus if you always start with the big blue bar, and then,
Yeah, so what are your thoughts on the Show Me panel?
Yeah, Show Me is great for people who are just starting out, and it also helps, I think, if you want to, you have an idea of what you want, but you're not able to quite get it. So let's say in this case, I wanted to try and have this be a map. I click on Show Me. It does a pretty decent job, right? But this isn't quite what I want. So, maybe here I'll just, I'll maybe color this by, this probably works best to figure out some sort of filter. Maybe something like that. So yeah, I think Show Me is kind of a great sort of get out of jail free card. on some of these things.
It'll get you familiar with those, what's needed for the different graphs, I think, for the different
There's
types.
no way that I would ever remember how to make a box and whiskers chart. Every single time I do that, I use
Yeah.
that. Or
Yeah.
a progress towards target or bullet chart. I'm always just like, just gonna use that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny because I think people start using Show Me because, again, they start out by dragging this stuff out. And, all right, well, now I'm kind of stuck. This isn't what I want. I don't want text. I want some bars, and then it still isn't. So
when you drag the measures out, Tableau is going to automatically kind of pick what they think is the best view for what you're dragging out.
yeah, I think you'll get to a point where it'll start to do like measure names. Names and measure values. So I don't want to go too like in depth on there, but like that's kind of where. Yeah.
Okay. Jim, there's a message. There's a question. How do you add a page number on dashboard effectively?
Yeah, so it's a good question. So I think there's a couple things either in the title. So this is a trick. Everything is named like sheet 2, but in the title, it's nice as you can actually kind of insert a couple things here.
Okay.
So Tableau's got some default things that you can add in, but a lot of times you'll also want to add dimensions. So the titles will kind of update as let's do this real quick on the fly. So what is this? This is for filter on to just let's say manufacturer. Oh, actually, I'll show you another quick tip. So a lot of people don't utilize this search. If you're dealing with a crazy data set and you just start typing in, this is an easy way to find the column that you're looking for. So this is kind of handy. So you can see the title is going to automatically update as. So I would go too wild on this, but. It's a nice way to do it.
Add to that title. Awesome. Thank you. Anybody else have questions for Jim? All righty. Well, thank you very much. And as always, if you have questions about these tips and tricks, let us know. You can get in touch with Jim or John. We can help you out as a leadership team as well. So thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was awesome. All right, let me take over sharing. All right, thank you both. Let's see. So I think, let me look at the time. I think we're good for a break. That went on, it was good, and a lot of good questions and comments. So thanks everybody out in the audience, Jim and John, thank you very much. Let's take a little break. So let's take like a 10-minute break, we think. So we're at 2:02 on my watch. So we want to do like 2:12. We can run a little longer than if we want 2:15, but take a few minutes break, come back, and we will jump right into, Molly is going to give us an overview of women in technology and that organization and all the wonderful stuff they do in Wisconsin. So.
And I'm
Teaser
actually going
there.
to share these links in the chat window just so it's easy for those who are new to the group to just see, or you don't have to try and type these things out. I'll just post them in the chat.
Yes. Brandy, do you also want to maybe toss in the splash page as well? The splash hub? Should probably put that on here too, but yeah, so cool. Okay, all right, I'll see everybody back around 2:12, 2:15. So. All right, everybody, we'll get going in just a moment here.
So for those of you that have been to our group before, we've started using Slack a little bit, and I think I post probably about 50% of the stuff. But either way, you know, joining Slack can sometimes be complex because you have to get like invited and all of that. But the link that I put in the chat window should kind of circumvent all of that, and you should be able to sign up for the Milwaukee Tableau user group Slack team. And we have a lot of different like channels out there that we can post, you know, questions in Tableau Doctor. You know, if you're stuck on something and need help. Yeah, thanks, John. Sorry, I'm reading John's message in the chat. Yeah, I definitely post 50% of everything in any group that John's a part of. So thanks, John. Appreciate it.
Gives us all
Anyway.
something to inspire towards.
Yeah, sure. I just program all that stuff and it just happens automatically.
That's smart.
And then I just sit around and no. Anyway, so just wanted to let you know about that link for Slack there.
Yeah, I would say it is probably the easiest way to connect with us. Although, you know, I think, you know, we could use some more traffic out there, but you know, LinkedIn is good for updates. Same thing with Splash and the Event Hub for the Tableau user groups. Slack's probably the most direct way to get a hold of us.
I think what I like, sorry to cut you off.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say what's nice about Slack, especially when we're virtual here, you know, I think one of the things I miss the most about our groups is being able to like, you know, network with people and develop that one-on-one connection. And Slack makes that easier than I think LinkedIn does. So just putting it out there. Plus, like, you know, if you find anything cool that you just is like, oh my God, you know, I mean, if you're on that Facebook group and you're like, oh my God, Brandy needs to see this, throw it out on Slack. I'm usually out there. I mean, yeah, I think then everybody can see that awesome stuff too. And we can have it be more conversational, whereas LinkedIn is mostly feels more of like a one-way conversation. So I don't know, just throw it out there.
Agreed. All right. So I think we probably got everybody back by now. So let's dive in. So let me click my buttons. There we go. So Molly Gallmeyer of the Women in Technology. So she is the president of the South Central region for Wisconsin for Women in Technology, a fantastic organization out there. She's going to tell us a lot more about it. She's also the director of business development at Baker Tilly Digital. So that's a new transformation from, if you might have seen her around, they were part of Talavant. So Talavant has jumped in there, so she might give a little bit of update on that. But Molly, I am going to go ahead and turn it over to you. So.
Awesome.
Right.
Well, thank you. And thank you, Josh, Brandy, Olga, everyone for the invitation. Super exciting. I'm going to start and talk a little bit about my background and kind of alluding to what Josh said about Talavant and Baker Tilly, and that will lead right into how Women in Tech, Madison, and even Milwaukee got created. So for those of you who don't know me, I've been around the tech space a while, and specifically the data side. In 2015, I joined an organization called Talavant as the first employee, and we were headquartered out of Madison. We were trying to break into the Milwaukee market. I would often attend Tableau user groups and just try to shake as many hands as possible, honestly, and really try to find different networking groups and get out there and kind of figure out where my niche was and where I felt super, super passionate. You know, like I said, I went to kind of everything and anything, and throughout that process, well, and to back up why the whole technology thing, when I started at Talavant, I knew a lot about technology, but not specifically around data. So I was also thrown into this brand new organization, and I remember going to my then boyfriend, now husband, and being like, these two co-founders are speaking in a foreign language. Because for those of you who don't know, Talvant was a data and analytics consulting firm. We focus on everything from management consulting, so strategic consulting engagements, helping organization implement data programs, data governance, kind of that more strategy side, all the way through implementation, focusing on tools, everything on the Microsoft stack, AWS, Tableau, and so on. Again, kind of like what Jim said, we don't get any kickbacks on any specific tools, so we really cater our services, or catered, I should say, around what was best breed for the client. So that being said, we built the organization. We had an office in Madison, office in Milwaukee, and in April we got acquired by Baker Tilly. So super exciting. Nothing like going through an acquisition during a pandemic, but hey, we're getting through it. I was telling these guys earlier, I have yet to step foot in a Baker Tilly office, but we're making it work. And so now we're a part of Baker Tilly Digital, which again is still kind of that data element, which is new for them because they're an accounting firm. So it's been exciting to network internally within Baker Tilly and talk through that. So backing up, now I'm at Baker Tilly, but when I started at Talvant, first employee, had to figure out where I was going from a networking perspective, and actually stumbled upon a group called Women in Technology up in the Fox Valley area. So those of you who know me know that I have no problem getting up early in the morning. So they would have Friday morning meetings at 7 a.m. So I would get up from Madison, Wisconsin at 4:45 and drive up there. And, you know, lo and behold, they were putting out some really good content. Obviously, if I was going back month after month. So Josh, if you want to hit to the next slide, please. Actually, we'll hit one more and then I'll have you go back. Sorry, thank you. So I was going up there month after month and was really, really intrigued with kind of the content, the mission, the group of women that I was surrounded by. And it was probably fall of 2018, I kind of raised my hand and was pestering the poor board up there and was like, we need this in Madison. And I really decided to kind of piggyback off what they were doing and start something brand new because, again, it's 100% volunteer based and I didn't want to reinvent the wheel. So long story short, in fall of last year, we were able to host our first Madison event. I think we had 165 people show up, which was super exciting. And we hosted events all throughout the fall, all throughout spring. We actually had our last happy hour in March right before kind of the lockdown happened. And I think due to a lot of the success in Madison, Jennifer Rice, who sits out of Milwaukee, she works for Meridian IT, she raised her hand as well and said, we should do this in Milwaukee. So they were able to have one event right before COVID, which my heart breaks for them because they were really getting the momentum going. But I wanted to jump to this slide to kind of show what WIT is today. So what WIT was when I kind of started going up to Fox Valley was just that north central region. Now today we've broken it out into 3 regions with opportunities to still start regions in the northeast and northwest part of Wisconsin. So super exciting. You know, the board went from 7 ladies in Appleton to now 3 separate regional boards. And then if you want to hop back one slide, Josh, please, I'll kind of talk about who we are, what we do, and what our mission is. So WIT really stands on 3 different pillars. So we have WIT at Work, WIT for Girls, and WIT on Campus. WIT at Work is one of our most popular series, and what it is it's really that professional networking development. So I talked briefly about those Friday morning breakfasts that I used to drive up to Appleton and that I was able to host prior to the COVID lockdown in Madison. I'll tell you, you would think 7 a.m., it'd be quiet, people would be getting their coffees. Those rooms were electric to the point that at around 7:35, when I wanted to kick off the meeting, I'd be like, ladies, take your seats, be quiet, like we got to start stuff. Like the energy and just the momentum, it's not really anything that I've ever experienced or can replace. So exciting. We are continuing to host these events virtual. I was actually on a meeting right before this to talk through what our fall schedule looks like. And we're going to kind of come together as a state. So again, we were starting to break things down as region. And then in the spring, when we were forced to go virtual, we were having 500 plus people statewide sign up. So we're going to continue that through January. Be on the lookout for, we'll have, because we're doing it statewide, they're typically monthly meetings, but we're going to do 2 meetings a month. one for a 7 a.m. or like a 7:30 breakfast series, and then one for a lunch and learn. So depending on what fits in your schedule. And then we would alternate every other month, but now that we're doing 2 per month, one is more on just general professional development, networking, female CIO panels, all those sort of things. And then the other one is more technical. So how do you use IoT in everyday use cases? A lot more technical on that side. So we have a variety of different events, and men are welcome too. So I do want to mention that. WIT for Girls is our second pillar. So that's really focused on that K through 12. So we were at that conference last year, if you guys are familiar with that, up in the Dells, hosting sessions for young, like I said, kids. It's usually, I feel like the folks that participate are like that 3rd through 6th grade. Maybe after 6th grade, they want to go to the water parks and whatnot. But it's really neat because Michelle Schuler, who was one of the main founders of which, she works for Microsoft, and she's able to get little Raspberry Pis that we can teach the students how to code and do different things. And it's crazy. I mean, I am not a technologist by heart, and I've got like a 7-year-old next to me, like figuring this stuff out and just watching their eyes light up, which is really, really cool. We also work with Boys and Girls Club, Girl Scouts, all of the about it, and are continuing to spread that throughout the state. Lastly, our last pillar is WIT on campus. So this is that collegiate level female, and really what it is we pair up a professional with a mentor. So I graduated from UW Whitewater. In the last 2 years, I've had a mentor from Whitewater in the computer science area, and just kind of talk to her about tech. I mean, like I said, nowadays I live and breathe data, and literally sometimes I have to like check myself when I'm talking about architecture and data things that I never thought that I would be able to know. Or like I said, 5-6 years ago, when that was a foreign language to me. I want to encourage other females that you don't necessarily have to be that developer that, doesn't get to interact with the business or do that. If you want to do that stuff, that's great, but there's a ton of other roles in tech that you can do. And I think that's where my passion really comes from. No one told me, oh, you can go be a business analyst or project manager, all these different things in tech. I fell into it, and now I couldn't be more passionate than ever to talk with organizations and talk to them how data can really change the way they operate and see their bottom line grow from solutions that we implement. I mean, that's powerful, powerful stuff. So that is the WIT on Campus program. Like I said, we have relationships a lot in the Fox Valley because that's where it started. We're building them in South Central and then Milwaukee as well. So if you want to go a couple slides, please, Josh. So that was, like I said, I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about the organization. Here are places where we can be found. Look for the events. We're likely looking at the 2nd and the 4th week of each month, like I said, for those virtual events up and through January. We're continuing to grow. We've already secured great sponsorship through organizations right there in Milwaukee, like Northwestern Mutual and RW Baird. We've got some great orgs here in Madison supporting us, as well as the Fox Valley. So I think it's really starting to build momentum and catch some fire. And like I said, it is women in technology, and that's our mission, what we're supporting, but there's often males in our events, male speakers, things like that. So don't hesitate to attend if you're interested. So, I mean, I guess I'll open it up if anyone has any specific questions or anything that I can help answer. Is there anything in the chat? Yeah, thank you, Brandy. So that's the website.
Yep.
My information, it's my first name dot last name, molly.goldmeyer@bakertilly.com. Otherwise, find me on LinkedIn. Happy to have a virtual coffee and talk through stuff, and just see if you're interested in getting involved, volunteering, or just simply attending. I mean, we're always looking for more participants.
Your events will be out on your website?
They will. Yep. So like I said, I just had that board meeting right before. That's why I was late to this call at 12:30. And they have a meeting tomorrow to finalize that stuff. It's, as I'm sure you guys are dealing with, we usually take the summer off for WIT, and our year starts September. But it's been kind of all hands on deck with figuring out, do we go virtual? Do we not? Do we go statewide? Do we go regionally? And how do we figure this out in this new world?
Awesome. Yeah. Any questions? If not, Molly, you going to be able to stick around for the happy hour, or are you
I do
You
have
gotta
a
jump off?
call with
Okay.
a client at 3, so I'll probably have to hop off. But like I said, LinkedIn's really
Yep.
easy to get a hold of me. Otherwise, you know, Brandy, Olga, Josh, they all have my information as well. So, or my name's right there on Zoom, molly.goldmeyer@bakertilly.com. Feel free to email me directly. And yeah, more than happy to talk about it or answer any questions.
Awesome.
Thank
Cool.
you. And thank you for the opportunity to share. Super exciting.
Yeah, thank you, Molly.
Um,
This
Yeah.
is great. Everybody's looking for ways to connect these days. So the
Mhm.
more the better, right? So
Yeah. Thank you.
awesome. All right. So we're going to go through a bit of our leadership updates right now. So it's just kind of the next couple of kind of the calendars, some events, some items that came out from Tableau. So our schedule is kind of, you know, we're set for the rest of the year virtual. So we're at the Q3 event right now. So that's what we're doing today. The next one's going to be the Wisconsin virtual tugs. So that is, as everybody kind of remembers, there's the Milwaukee and there's the Madison. And then there was kind of a collaboration deal before the whole COVID thing hit, where it was kind of a whole Wisconsin virtual, kind of give everybody across the state some good old additional Tableau goodness. That's still going, right? Even though everything's virtual. So, and that one is scheduled for October 2nd. So definitely make sure you put that on your calendar. And Brandy, what's the best way to get registration for that?
Great question. So actually that user groups.tableau.com/Milwaukee link that I posted right near the break, that splash page actually has all of the events, both the Milwaukee and the Wisconsin events on there, which is why it's a little confusing. But yeah, both events for both groups are there.
Excellent. Okay. And then we have our final Q4 rounding it out October 15th. And that's what we have scheduled. I know we tend to do something, you know, kind of around the end of the year, bit of a hurrah. I think we're going to discuss options of what that might look like, but nothing official yet out there on that front. But obviously we're trying to see how everything plays out through the fall and winter and, you know, anyways. So thanks for being patient with us as we transition to the virtual and keeping this going. So we're, you know, another thing I guess is if anybody has any input, any thoughts, any feedback, positive, you know, constructive, any of that sort of thing, please feel free to share it with us. We want to make these things as useful to everybody, keep people coming back, kind of keep the same vibe and community going that we've had as a wonderful, strong vibe ongoing. And I think as a lot of folks who've started participating from outside of Milwaukee, jumping in here, there's some unique opportunities to jump in and see. I've heard of people attending them in Paris and, you know, kind of San Francisco and all those sorts of things. So Seattle, I guess, is probably a pretty big one. So there's now the opportunity to do that. And I think Tableau, I guess I kind of walked myself into that one, but I think if you go to usergroups.tableau.com, you'll probably be able to see a large list of those out there, and they probably all have quite a few virtual ones that you can, if you're curious, jump in and take a look at how someone else runs it. So, all right. Our email address is out there, mketug@gmail.com. So any thoughts, feedback, questions, comments, anything out there, let us know. As soon as things do settle down and we feel safe about resuming in-person meetings, we are always looking for people to continue to host and to sponsor and things like that. So we'll let you know on when that kind of messaging shifts and that shifts, and we'll obviously start ramping that back up again as soon as safely able to do so. Upcoming events, so quite a few events out there. So a lot of things have shifted virtually, but there's plenty of stuff still to go out there to get your fix for all data and analytics information. So Tableau has a big one coming up, their Data Solutions Summit. It's virtual August 20th. I have some links in an upcoming slide about those, as Tableau has shifted their kind of whole conference, you know, engagement method to virtual. So they've been doing a lot more frequent and then a lot more accessible and a lot less expensive ways of engaging. Continuous Technologies had their August data meetup on August 21st. The Madison Tug, virtual again, August 26th. AE Business Solutions also on the 26th as well. So you can see there's a few more as you get out into September and October. Again, you know, Milwaukee virtual tug, and the Wisconsin virtual tug out there too. So take a screenshot, take a snapshot, whatever you want to do to get these. All the registration links for what what we host are on the events page. If you go ahead and just do a quick Google search on some of these, you'll be able to find them. You'll be able to find their LinkedIn pages. They all have LinkedIn pages, so you can figure out registration information on those. So, all right, as we kind of hinted at earlier, Tableau dropped a new release like 2 days ago. So their 2020.3 release is now live and offers some interesting pieces. So especially in Tableau Prep, and then an interesting one on the governance side that I'm sure it's probably going to cause a lot of people potentially pain, but also might make things a lot easier. So the first one is the ability to write to external databases in Tableau Prep. So this is basically you can store prep data in a central location, another database where you can store that and you can leverage it again throughout other areas of the organization. So new and out there, I haven't had a chance to play around with any of that. If anybody's interested and wants to do a demo on that, maybe in an upcoming piece, that would be interesting to see. So that one's a great, I think reusability and accessibility, a lot of companies are trying to, manage the chaos of multiple data sets as they get out there. So good one for there, and also gives you a little bit of prep. So the next one, grant licenses on sign-in. So this is probably an ease of license management, so what it does is a new user signs in, you can configure it for specific individuals, teams, or departments, or your entire organization if you're really brave, and have a large open pocketbook. And you can just grant licenses to folks as they register and sign in to the application. So, and I think that works across all the platforms. I think so server and public, those two as well. So check it out. You go to tableau.com/product/new features for more information on that. The last one they have is deeper integration with SAP HANA. So a lot of large organizations use SAP HANA. They have they completed a new SAP certifications between the two applications. And this allows for deeper integration. I think table functions you can now access directly from Tableau. This applies to Tableau desktop, prep, server, online, kind of the whole gamut. So check out new features link if you want any more information on those new updates. So, and there's a few other small minor ones as well too. If you go out there, take a look at some of the other, there's a ton of them that they don't kind of highlight, but these are just the larger releases that they called out. All right, so Tableau, so continuing kind of the theme that we've had previously about education information, Tableau has these new learning paths. I don't know if they're necessarily new, but I want to put a plug out there for them. So they have curriculum, skills assessments, role badges. So if you go to the www.tableau.com/learn/learning paths, let me see, we can probably drop that link into the chat. Sorry, I was just reading chat for a minute there. And we can drop these links into the chat. But this will allow you to take I think you take an assessment. It kind of gives you some options of where you could potentially get in and jump into some training, some free, some paid. They have these gamification out there around role badges, so you can kind of collect and show off, and then kind of share those on social media and other places to kind of demonstrate your skills. So Tableau continues to evolve the training in the way that you can get involved in and navigate through their products. So because as they build out a larger suite, there's just more to do there. Again, free training videos, free webinars, all those links out there. It's pretty good. So, all right, I think now we're going to jump into trivia. So Brandy, I'm going to turn it over to you, and we're all going to do some trivia time. And this is, I'll let you kind of go over the whole details.